Hi guys. Okay, so first let me start by saying I'm really sorry that this post is happening so late. I had a crazy day filled with a bunch of readings, which were fabulous and amazing, and tons of messages that were beautiful. And then I actually went and did some work with a competitive dance team that I work with. So I did some choreography for them tonight. So I'm just getting home now. I'm going to try and get this video posted, done quickly. It's 9:15. Um, so that's what I want to start with. I'm sorry it's so late. I'm gonna work on trying to get them out a little bit earlier than this. So I said yesterday that I was gonna do a segment today called Who's on First, What's on Second. And I'm not sure where today's segment's gonna go. I'd written down some ideas and kind of what I was thinking, but um and I'm hoping that I clarify a few things. I don't want to go through my upbringing. That's not where I'm at yet. I will eventually get to that point, but I don't really need to go through that. I'm going to give you little pieces of me, but not like, okay, this is when I was born and where and da 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 da. So, um, I had a really incredible client today, an incredible moment with this client. And so I've had a bit of an emotional day. It was one of those readings that just kind of rocked my soul. And without divulging a ton of information, because I do believe in confidentiality, I am going to share some of that reading with you. Because I think it's important if I get emotional in this reading or in this video that you understand why. So, who's on first? What's on second? Who am I? I am Kelly, also known as Kelly Lane. Also, nickname is Dolly or Babe or Mom or Kel or Booty. It's all out there. Kel's Bells. I mean, there's so many names out there for me. And I love each and every one of them. That's me. I was born in 79. I'm 40, just turned 40 this year. Loving being 40. Alberta, born and raised, with the exception of some time spent in BC. Traveled a lot. Went to high school in Okotoks, which is where I currently reside. I did leave after high school, and then once I had Parker, I came back here. And I do love Okotoks. What I can tell you is that anybody who knows me, my friends, my family, I always say that I'm a mermaid. I'm very drawn to the ocean, very drawn to the ocean, the sand, the surf, the sun. So one day I will find home. I jokingly say I've never found home yet, but I will find home, and home will definitely have a surf shack that I will own with my little fairy shack beside it. This is something, being a medium is something I will never retire from. It's not a switch I can shut off. The way that I work will just look different as I get older. I just will hopefully be able to be in a place where I can kind of choose when I want to travel and when I want to do readings. And living on a beach, I'll be probably doing a little bit more phone readings than I am readings in person. So, having said the phone reading thing, people often ask if it's any different for me with phone readings or in-person readings. Makes no difference. Dead people show up no matter where you are. Makes no difference to me. The only difference is that you don't get to see me take on mannerisms, or you don't get to see my character. And sometimes in readings, there's actually a lot of times in readings where there's a lot of laughter. And it is sad, and I always jokingly say in my reading, in my opening speech, that I have this uncanny ability to make people cry in 5 seconds. And it's not a great party trick. But I actually am gonna do a whole segment called Party Trick. So just watch for that. I'm hoping it'll be kind of sooner rather than later, but that a total side note. So yeah, so phone, in person makes no difference to me. Some people prefer in person. I have clients though all over, I'm going to say the world, that I don't even know what color their eyes are. I've never seen them. And when I do it on phone, I used to do it. I tried it a few times through like FaceTime or Facebook video messenger. Skype. And what happens is the energy just kind of cuts everything out. And so I'm spending more time reconnecting, whereas on the telephone, I have full control as to what comes in and what doesn't come into my phone call. So they can stay in my space but not affect my technology. Spirit often messes with technology. They like to do that. This is actually the second time I'm recording this because I have some energies in my office right now that decided to knock my phone over. So that's why my angle is a bit different, because they knocked my phone off of my little box that I have it set on. So yeah. So if something happens, we'll just go with it today. So anyway, that's kind of who I am, where I come from, kind of what I think my future looks like. I am a medium. I'm very proud to say that I'm a medium, but I am also a mom, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a sister, and I'm a cousin, and I'm a niece. I'm also a girlfriend, and I'm a friend, and I am a healer, and I'm a person. And that's one thing that sometimes people have a hard time with me. And for the most part, everybody is very supportive, but I go through things too, and as does my son. And so sometimes life gets in the way and I'm unable to do a reading, or I have to reschedule. And, I do my best to not do that. But because I'm human and I am a single mom, it's, my son takes precedent over anything. So like I say, for the most part, it's never an issue, but sometimes people forget that I'm not just a medium. And so that's kind of who I am. Now, what I do is, I call them readings. Some people call them channeling. Like I said, this isn't a switch that I can shut off. So yes, there's energy everywhere I go. Yes, there's spirit everywhere I go. And for the most part, I can manage them and keep them at bay. Let's say, for instance, I'm at Costco or I'm at the mall. I'm hearing stuff. So sometimes when people are talking to me, if I'm out with my friends or what have you, I'm looking at them, but I'm not actually hearing anything they say. And I'm very honest about it. I will literally say to people, I am so sorry. I have no idea what you just said. I was not present. I'm sorry. And then I try and get them okay, go away, shoo. But it's not the energy that's talking to me, or the spirit that's talking to me. It doesn't mean that it's a spirit or a message for the person I'm talking to. It could be for somebody in the back right-hand corner of the lounge that we're sitting in. And I'm not going to get up and just start walking. They guide me to who I need to go to, but and because I believe in confidentiality and I believe in people having their own space. And not everybody believes in what I do. And so, yes, I can come up and give you the most peaceful, kind message you've ever had in your life, and it might change your life. But if you're not ready to hear it, I'm going to look crazy. And so I think that it is important that people understand that, no, this isn't a switch that I can shut off. And sometimes I have to say to people, today's a busy day, or it's been a bit of a tough day for me, or what have you. And I'm very open and honest with my family and my friends and my son and, my partner, because I think it's important that they know that it's not about them that I'm not present, because sometimes it's hard for me to just sit. So today being, for instance, I had this crazy moment happen. And what you have to understand is when I'm reading spirit or energy, they come through when I was little, they presented as human form. So they looked different. They were like see-through, but I could see their faces. And then as I aged, they started to come in shadow form. And then as I got even older, like teenage-ish years, if you're driving down a highway and it's really hot and you see those rays come off the highway, that's how energy or spirit presents itself to me. And so people say, well, how do you know if it's a male or a female? How do you know if it's my mom or my dad or my grandma or my grandpa or whatever it is? And I know because of feelings that they give me. So they make me feel and they show me things I relate to in the physical world. So if it's your mom that has passed, this energy will show up, the spirit will show up. And they make me feel how my mom would make me feel, or how my dad would make me feel, or, grandparents, whatever. So that's kind of how I know who they are. The ones that I get confused about a little bit are sisters, because I don't have a sister. So I don't know what that feeling is. So sometimes, and I have a soul sister who I love to death. I feel like we are definitely sisters. But she's also one of my best friends. So sometimes I say, "Oh, did you lose your best female friend?" or what have you. Or there's a female present, and she's giving me the best friend, warm fuzzies. And they'll say, "Oh no, that's my sister." So sometimes I get a little confused that way, just because I don't have a sister, but they make me feel how my soul sister makes me feel. So sometimes I don't know if it's a friend or a sister. So then I explain that to my client. Animals show up. I've had horses show up in my office, which is super cool. Talking horses, that's kind of cool. Again, they don't talk really. They, again, show me signs or symbols. But if I'm not understanding a message, or a message isn't clear to my client, I will say to them, "Please explain it. I need it verbally instead of in signs and symbols, because what I relate to in the physical world might not be what you relate to or what a client relates to in the physical world." So then they talk to me. The problem with them when they start verbally speaking to me is I hear my own voice. And so sometimes they'll say something and I'll say it out loud, and then I go, "I shouldn't have said that." And they're like, "Oh no, that was totally the way that they would have said that." So for the most part, that's kind of what happens when they verbally speak to me. They don't often verbally speak to me, but they can. And when they do, it's loud. And that's often when I'm sitting out, or I'm out in a group or what have you. And that when they start speaking to me, I know that that's a message that is not something that can just sit, or that I can shove away. That is something that needs to be presented, because when they're speaking, it's clear, and it's like, you need to go say this to this person right now. It doesn't happen often that way, but there has been times where I've had to. Airplanes are the worst. I've read flight attendants, which, I mean, I felt bad because they made this poor flight attendant cry, and then she was just like in the middle of like serving, but her dad had stepped forward on the plane, and I was like, "I'm sorry, he has to, well," and so I gave her her message, and she was crying. She had to like excuse herself. I felt bad, so I went back and talked to her. Anyways, so sometimes that happens. Airplanes are the worst because we're in such close quarters. And it gets amplified if I have had a couple of whiskeys. The difference is when I've had a couple of whiskeys, I don't exactly know how to filter it sometimes. And when I say a couple, we all know what I'm talking about. But for the most part, I'm in full control of what I do. And then people also need to understand that when I'm reading them, and I explain this to my clients when they're sitting in front of me, or if they're on the phone, I am Kelly and I am in a human suit. But when I'm doing a reading, I tap solely into energy, souls, and spirits. And so when I'm reading, it's not human Kelly doing the reading. And so there's times in some readings where Kelly gets emotional. And it's not Kelly getting emotional, it's spirit coming through with a message through me that is emotional. And some people will say that spirits don't have emotion. But to me, they very much show emotion to me. And in turn, I then give it to the message emotionally to my client. Most of the time, I don't get emotional in readings. I give the reading, I do what I do. I work through it, boom, done. And like I said, I have this uncanny ability to make people cry. So it's not that I'm that I'm not sensitive to it. It's just that I'm giving messages. And so I try and get as much as I can in an hour, which is, some people like, I'm very empathetic and very sympathetic to what they're feeling. And so I try and gently give them messages, if that makes sense. But yeah, so anyway, so if I get emotional in a reading, and I've done many readings, like I say, where I don't. I've read, people, unfortunately, who have lost children, or people who just recently lost a spouse, or people who have just, and not even just people who lost parents, who are carrying guilt with it, what have you. And generally, for the most part, spirit doesn't get emotional. They want it to be super peaceful, and they want to just like give you all these messages and tell you how much they love you and validate all of the things that they've seen you do and accomplish since their passing, things you've done in memory for them. There's so many messages that they give me validating that they haven't missed anything. And also they give me messages about past things that I couldn't possibly know. So hence the book title, You Can't Google This Shit. I have no rights to Google. I have not asked them for the rights to it. That's just my dream title. So please, no issues with the word Google. But yeah, so anyway, so they want to validate that it's real and authentic, and everybody is different. The one thing that people get confused about is someone will say to me, well, my friend came here and her mom comes to her as a crow, and you said my grandma comes to me as a crow. Well, spirit comes in many different ways, and they give us signs by tipping pictures, knocking things off the wall, hiding our keys, playing with technology. They turn TVs on and off. But for the most part, they will come in big things: birds, butterflies, dragonflies, hummingbirds, wildlife, bunnies. Bunnies are a big one. And that's kind of how they present. And so what I'm doing is just validating that, yes, this is this person. So yes, it was your mom that was the butterfly or the whatever. So anyways, back to the emotional part. So if I'm doing a reading and spirit gets emotional because of the message that they need to give or what have you, I then cry. And what I say to my client in that moment is, please understand that this is not my emotion. This is your loved one's emotion. And this happened today. And it, like I say, it does not happen often. Very rarely does this happen where I get emotional, or that spirit gets emotional. And without divulging too much information, because like I said, I do believe in confidentiality, so I will not use names. I'll give you the gist of what happened today. It was probably one of the most beautiful readings I have ever experienced. And I think it was beautiful, and a beautiful experience for me, for human Kelly, because of my current relationship. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that detail, but when my client, who was a gentleman, sat in my chair and I give him my speech, and instantly off the hop, he walked to my house before I even started talking, before I gave my speech, which shows spirit that I'm ready to work. This woman came in with him, and I knew she was what I thought was his wife. And so he sat down, and he wasn't that old. He was older than me, probably old enough to be my dad, but not that old. And neither was this spirit. So he sat down. I gave my speech. I say that there's this woman here that I would say was his wife. And when I call spirit something that they're not, so often with, especially with grandmas get real like crazy about this shit. So if I say, oh, your grandmother's present, and I go to write grandma on my sheet, if you didn't call her grandma, she'll clear her throat, which is my symbol that that's not what you called her. So I said, I believe this woman has stepped forward and she is your wife. And I said, oh, nope, she's not your wife. And he kind of looked at me like, what? And I said, do I call her your partner? He started to laugh, and I said, she cleared her throat, which is my symbol that is, she was not the wife. And he started to laugh, and he said, no, it made her crazy when people would call us husband and wife, because we said we just weren't going to get married. We were together for a really long time. And yes, that is my life partner. And so as I continued on, unfortunately, this woman had gotten sick, and it was a quick passing through her illness. But I said to him what she said to me through me. This is where I got emotional, and I might get emotional again. She said to me, I didn't want to die. And she said, I wasn't ready to leave my best friend. And when I said that to him, tears were streaming down my face, and she was emotional and he was emotional. And I have this man sitting in front of me, and I'm looking at him, and I feel this pain in my soul. So at this point, Kelly kicks back in, and I have a pain, a gut. I don't know that I have felt that kind of pain. And it was his pain I was feeling, because what I try and do is I try and take out that pain and heal it and give it back to you a little bit less or healed. So anyways, and it was this gut wrenching pain like someone had just cut off my left arm, like literally has torn my best friend out of my world. And I have had many beautiful people in my life, in regards to friendships and things. I don't know, and I mean this with no disrespect if any of my people from my past are watching this, but I have, when I felt this pain from this man, and the pain from her, and she almost begged to stay, but she didn't want to stay sick. And the problem was she couldn't be healed. Unfortunately, she had very aggressive cancer. And so but she's like, I can't, I don't want to live without him. Now she's on the other side already. She is past. She is on the other side, and she's still begging to come back because she does not want to live without this man, and this man does not want to live without her. And I am trying to give him these most authentic, real messages, and he is looking at me like he said to me, it's so weird that you say those things, because those were like the last things that she ever said to me, and it was just the two of them in the room. And I said, but she still feels this way. And I said, and that's when I said to him, please know this emotion is not mine. This emotion is hers and yours. This emotion is not mine. But when I felt that pain, and I felt their journey, and I saw the adventures that they had been on, and I brought up things from their past, and he is a singer, and he used to sing to her a lot. And anyway, so I said, she kept saying to me, tell him to continue to sing to me. And when she was saying that, she got teary again. And so I said to him, you need to continue to sing to her. And she kept saying to me, remember when, remember when, remember when. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Or she would, like, that's what she kept saying. She's like, just say, remember when, just say it. He'll know what it means, just say it. And so I said to him, I don't know what this means, but I'm supposed to say, remember when. And when I said it, my voice cracked. And he looked at me like I had 25 heads. And I was like, oh, she said, you know what I was talking about. And he said, after her celebration of life, we went to sing karaoke. And he said, and I sang that song for her. He said, but I couldn't get through it. My brother had to finish it. And I said to him, okay, what is it? And he said, it's a country song. And I said, oh, I don't think I know that one. So anyways, long story short, this reading was incredibly emotional. It was very emotional for me, and it was very emotional for him. And he said, the thing he said to me when he left here was that he felt like he could breathe again. And he said, and at least I know she didn't want to go. And he said, but I don't know that I'll ever have a best friend again. And I get emotional now telling it. Sorry. Because I have my best friend, and I knew what that felt like. And I can't imagine, like I said, I don't want to go into detail about, my personal relationships, but I have found my best friend. I found what people talked about and what I have experienced. And I had never experienced this kind of connection in a reading before. And so I think that it hit me so hard because I have that in my life. And I think that it's, kind of rocked my world today, because I really sat back and went, she unfortunately was only 56, and he wasn't, much older than that. I would put him probably in his early 60s. And that, I turned 40, that's in 16 years, but that's really not that far away. And I'm not, I don't, I try not to relate people to my world, but I had never seen a connection like that. Never in any readings. I had never felt what this couple had. Now, having said that, she has just recently passed. She has not been gone even a month. And so the emotion is raw, and it's real, and it's right here. Same with her emotion. If he would have come to me in a couple of years, her emotion and his emotion might be at a different level. And if he comes back, it might be at a different level again. But what I can tell you is that I, in that moment, appreciated what they had together. And I just saw so much laughter and dancing and singing and traveling. And what he had explained to me is prior to meeting her, he had never even left Canada. And she was the type of woman that was like this gypsy free soul that would like just pull out a map, throw a dart at it and say, okay, that's where we're going. And he just always went along for the ride and always had tons of fun. And so he said to me, I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid to book a flight. I'm afraid to leave Canada. I'm afraid. And she just kept saying to me, you need to keep traveling. We had all these plans. You need to go see all these places. And he said, I can't do it without my best friend. Like, she was my best friend. And in that moment, I don't know that I have ever related to somebody so much. And it just rocked my soul. And it rocked my soul because I would never want anybody to feel that kind of pain. But it rocked my soul because I understood it. And not because I have lost my partner, but because he is my best friend. And and we adventure together and we laugh and we joke. And in that moment when he's saying, I don't want to leave, I don't want to go on trips without her, she's my best friend. And I have since said that to my boyfriend, I don't want to go anywhere without you ever again, because it's just not right. And so this reading was intense and it was real and it was raw and it was so authentic and so genuine. And I was thankful that she showed equally as much pain as he did. But I don't know that I have ever seen spirit show that much pain ever before. And so it was very hard for me. And I hugged him, and I always hug my clients when I'm leaving. But I hugged him a little bit longer than I hug most, because